4, 3, 2, 1. Hello everyone, welcome back. And it's time to get the reading in for the year of 2023. So this is going to be general reading. This is going to be trying to get the high points of the year 2023 in. I want to remind everyone that this is for everyone. So there are parts of this that may resonate with you. There are parts that may not. One of the biggest things to remember is that this is also about free will choice. So if you choose to take a path that can be destructive, you're going to basically be dealing with everything that path brings you. If you choose to operate from the places of our best and highest intention, you will operate and receive what that brings. But you have to make a choice, and you have to deal with the consequences and the accountability that comes with it. And that goes for all of us. So let's see what 2023 has for us. All right, so we've got the spread for the year. And interestingly enough, the year is going to be represented by the same house as the January month. And that represents monies, values, our work, our daily routines, and our environment. So those are all going to be very much places we're going to be working on over this course of 2023. So one of those things is being very conscious about how and why you use your money. Being very conscious and aware of the values you're choosing and how you use your money to represent those values. You're going to be very much looking at how we focus on our work and what our work means, not just for ourselves, but for the world around us. And what are the daily routines and environment that we create for ourselves as being the focal places that we look at when it comes to what 2023 holds for us. Now, we also have the Adinkra wisdom, which is telling us about what we need to be focusing on to basically be the best possible ancestor for the future so that we are called on. And so this one talks about the seed of the Wawa tree. And this is talking about hardness, toughness, and perseverance. He is tough as the seed of the Wawa tree. So when we look at that, there's the aspect of how, not saying that we need to be hard about money, but how are we basically using our money to make sure that we are able to weather hard times? How are we using our money to prepare us for dealing with tough situations? How are we using our money to persevere? Or again, how are we setting up our values to deal with the hardness that can come, the toughness that can come, and persevere with our values when there are those that will tear it apart? How is our work both hard and strengthening us, but also proving that we are capable of doing hard work and tough work, and that we can persevere through the work that we do? Now, that does not mean stay at a very unbearable place. It is showing that there is also strength in being able to walk away from a place that is toxic, but that we will find and we will be prepared to be able to find that place that is not. That our toughness is not always found in enduring a bad experience. Our toughness can also be found in walking away from a bad experience. And then there's our daily routines and our environment. So how are we, again, providing that we have resiliency and hardness against difficult working situations and environments, and that we can recognize that there are environments that are just not there for us, and that we can walk away, that we can persevere, and our perseverance also comes with leaving a difficult place, that we have the toughness to walk away when they will say that we are weak because we can't cut it. No, we are not weak because we know that this is toxic. This is an unhealthy place that is not going to be providing us with what we need for the long term. There's a classic saying that you cannot hate something into love. So if a place that is proving hardness that is unnecessary, hardness that only benefits a certain select few, and this also goes with toughness, is not a place that is going to provide us a place where a seed can grow. Because even though this seed is incredibly tough from this particular tree, it still needs certain qualities to grow and persevere. It still needs light, it still needs moisture, it still needs nutrients in the earth. So if the place that we are dealing with is not doing any of those things, it is okay to leave. And that is a toughness, a hardness, and a perseverance in and of itself. So when we look at what we have here, we have a structure here that this is the home bone, this is the work bone, this is the family and social bone. So they are putting structured together and they're providing structure to the home, but you notice it's also tilting. So we're going to be hitting a lot of things in this next year, over the course of this next year, that is going to be about, do we have the balance in our home? Now, you notice that we have a couple of other bones, both balance and at least one spinal, here that are providing the structure to keep the home bone from completely toppling over. So it's how are we bring our forces together and our energies together to deal with creating a home that can weather what's coming. And what's coming is going to basically be, again, centering around our money, centering around what we are putting value in, and especially where we spend our money. Are we spending that money on putting together the new insulation in the home, or are we spending it on a new entertainment system? Are we making sure that we are putting in a good furnace system, or are we going to go ahead and worry about whether or not we've got the right artificial grass? So I think you get the point. Now, why this comes down to our work and to our family, in this next year, we're going to be looking at how are these two supporting each other. If anything, the bulk of this weight is going to be off of our work bone. And remember that the work bone is not purely what we do to pay the bills, it is what we are here to do in the world. And it's one of those big things is remembering what we are here to do in the world with the quartz piece. And it's going to be a lot more internal work. So what we're doing in 2023 is a bunch of internal work that is also being supported by spirit, that is inspired by what we do internally, and how we remember what our purpose is here. And in doing so, that's how influencing how we are using our money, how we are expressing our values, what the work we are doing here, how our daily routines and environments are feeding our work, feeding our values, feeding our money. But we also have to be both inspirational, balanced, and aware. And that's operating with a more unified form of both our intellect as well as our emotions, which is part of what we've got to basically be aware of and conscious of the choices we're making and with choices we're making within ourselves, how they're being influenced. Now, with the social month, we are seeing that while it is here, it's also not supported here. So you've got to be very conscious about the environment and the people you are working with, what the values they are presenting, how they are working, what their routines and what their environment is. Just because there is a group that is all together championing let's call it a certain policy, doesn't mean that policy is necessarily built actually on a solid structure. That's what's missing. So we've got to be looking at our social connections within our families of blood and of choice, within our social circles and so forth. What are they building off of? They've got lots of inspiration. We've got lots of inspiration here. We've got a lot of things that they're trying to balance, but are they making sure there's a foundation under it? And that foundation is about the long term. So always asking the plans about how this is a long-term situation. What is their long-term expression of values? How is this going to make a look in 3 months, 6 months, 5 years? How is all of this going to improve the daily life and the environment that's around us? Because again, if you can't drink the water, doesn't matter to mean you're not going to be doing much to basically spend energy. Or it does not mean that if this environment is not something that is actually allowing us to, again, have the nutrients to live, and not just a select few. Remember again, the seed. It still needs light, water, and nutrients to grow, even though it is a tough seed that can grow in very difficult environments. So it's being aware that we've got people who will be operating thinking they are tough, thinking they are hard, thinking that they are persevering for the future, but they're not, because they're operating from a limited view that does not actually represent all of us. It represents a moment in time. So it's very important for us to keep in mind in going forward in this year. One of those examples is the idea of what is going on with our economy. And again, our economy is at any given time is a snapshot of a moment. Collectively, those moments can give us a prediction. But again, it is a moment stretched across a number of years. And again, years. I'm going to emphasize that because that's what we're operating in. We are operating in a time cycle that takes years, decades, not just 6 months. And that's going to influence how and why we use money, how and why we express our values, how and why we work, how and why we create the environment and have the routines that allow us to live and persevere. So keep this in mind for our overall year of 2023. On behalf of the ancestors and the Orishas and the Loas, and whatever spirit was willing to speak through here and allow you to hear this, I hope 2023 is a good year for you. And remember that we are looking to operate for the long term and for the highest good of everybody, because there will be plenty of challenges around that. That's going to be in the social place, that's going to be in the workplace, and it's going to be around our homes. And those who would rather see our homes fall. Ashe.